Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
Antioxidants, free radicals, detoxification, these are all terms that everyone has heard of, but what exactly do they mean? And when it comes to our endogenous antioxidants, why is it so important that we maintain those throughout our lifetime to support our cellular health through the aging process? I'm going to explain that to you today. I am Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, and I want to focus in on endogenous antioxidants. When we talk about an endogenous antioxidant, what that actually is, it is something that we are born with. So we talk about things such as CoQ10, we talk about our vitamin C, our vitamin E, glutathione, for example. But there's one really important endogenous antioxidant that oftentimes is overlooked, and its role in the human body is so incredibly important, and that is dimethylglycine. So oftentimes this is shortened to DMG, but DMG, this is incredibly critical when it comes to so many aspects of our health. Our bodies use DMG pretty much every moment of every day for all of these different metabolic pathways. So it's a building block for the synthesis of things like methionine. We need methionine when we talk about detoxification. We need to have DMG as a building block for choline. Well, why is choline important? Well, that's very important for the manufacturing of acetylcholine, which is our primary memory neurotransmitter. It's also very important that we have adequate dimethylglycine when it comes to our hormones, our neurotransmitters. When we think about our cellular DNA, being that DMG is oftentimes underutilized when it comes to our food sources, because most people follow that standard American diet and do not get adequate exposure to dimethylglycine coming from natural food sources such as pumpkin seeds, for example. Most people just are not following that Mediterranean diet, which would yield you that higher amount of dimethylglycine exposure, which is why we can run into problems. So let's talk about what exactly this very important endogenous antioxidant is doing. Well, dimethylglycine plays this really critical role in many different biochemical pathways in the body. But most importantly, when we think about the glutathione pathway and the synthesis of glutathione, remember, glutathione is one of the body's most important and most powerful antioxidants. We talk about all of our antioxidants. We come naturally equipped with CoQ10. We come naturally equipped with vitamin C and vitamin E. We come naturally equipped with things like superoxide dismutase and catalase. But glutathione really stands out when we talk about proper detoxification. We look at the liver, and the liver has a high abundance of glutathione. Well, a lot of this is reliant on proper dimethylglycine levels. If we do not have adequate dimethylglycine, then the body will struggle in terms of that particular pathway for the production of glutathione. Now, the body itself makes dimethylglycine. So even if we're not getting it from exposure from food, then we can still make it. However, here is the catch. There are many different reasons as to why your dimethylglycine production in the body can go down. We can look at different stress factors that can impact how much dimethylglycine is made. But we also know that as we get older, as with many other things in the body, dimethylglycine manufacturing begins to decline. So if dimethylglycine production goes down, that means we're not having high amounts of glutathione being produced. This can create significant issues. So when we look at all human biological functions, dimethylglycine, DMG, is absolutely essential to all of these different functions. Well, we know for sure that dimethylglycine is playing a role in over 40 different biochemical processes that are directly linked to how the body itself ages. And I always say you want to be able to age gracefully. That's the goal. It's kind of like if you have a choice between driving down a dirt road with a bunch of potholes or driving on a really nice smooth highway. Well, most people are going to probably opt to drive on that smooth highway. Well, you want to think of your cells that same way. Whatever we can do to allow the cells to do what they need to do every single day when it comes to these different metabolic pathways, then we want to be able to assist in that. So if dimethylglycine is required for all of our 70 trillion cells, then we know this is pretty darn important. It plays an essential role in proper nutrient absorption. So think about that just for a moment. If we are taking in nutrients from our foods, and ideally you're following that Mediterranean diet, so you're getting good healthy foods that are packed with, wonderful amounts of fiber and antioxidants and vitamins and minerals, then we have to have dimethylglycine for proper nutrient absorption. If we are lacking that, then we are not going to be yielding a good amount of those key nutrients coming from our diet. We know that we require dimethylglycine when it comes to energy production. We talk about having ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. So the cells will struggle to create that energy in the absence of adequate dimethylglycine. We also know that dimethylglycine certainly plays an essential role in neuronal activity. So when we're talking about brain function, for example, we talk about the health of the heart and proper heart function. And obviously, we can look at liver health because we know for sure if dimethylglycine plays this critical and essential role in manufacturing glutathione. So through that glutathione synthesis, then we know that dimethylglycine plays this role when it comes to proper liver function and hence their detoxification. But we also need to recognize that dimethylglycine, being that it's required by all of the cells and is playing this critical role throughout the body, it also plays a role in the immune system. So I've spent a lot of time talking about how we can help to support the immune defenses, especially during this time with the pandemic still widely being spread in this country. So we know that dimethylglycine plays this role when it comes to enhancing the immune defenses. So anything we can do, once again, to support the cells, protect that cellular DNA, this is going to be key. We now know so much more about dimethylglycine than we ever did before because of the advancements in science. We have been able to recognize the role and the immunomodulating properties that dimethylglycine actually has. Back in the 1980s, in the Journal of Infectious Disease, they actually did a study that showed the immunomodulating properties of dimethylglycine. And what they recognized is that dimethylglycine played this really essential role in terms of the way that the white blood cells are responding to different types of pathogens, and suggesting that dimethylglycine enhances both the humoral and the cell-mediated immune system responses. So what does that mean? That means our innate and our adaptive. So that's your immediate immune system response as well as the delayed. Now, I spent a lot of time talking about the important role of vitamins and minerals when it comes to our immune system. Well, we now know that dimethylglycine plays a role in terms of proper absorption of those vitamins and minerals. So everything is all tied together. So for the health of our immune system, for the health of our liver, for the health of our heart, for the health of our brain, dimethylglycine is really quite critical. Now, as scientists have realized more and more about dimethylglycine, they have been able to actually correlate that dimethylglycine deficiencies that are found in serum blood levels have been directly linked to the development of diabetes. And this was published in the Diabetes Journal. So this isn't some far-fetched journal out there where you had a couple of scientists that were playing around in a lab and said, maybe dimethylglycine has something to do with diabetes. This is well-researched information that was conducted through the Division of Cardiovascular Medicine at Vanderbilt Heart Institute, along with MIT and the Broad Institute. So you have all of these different collaborative institutions, Harvard University, MIT, a group of researchers that worked in conjunction with the MIT and Harvard researchers and the Vanderbilt researchers from Sweden. And they all pooled all of this data together. And they were looking at all these different experimental studies. And they were looking at this potential protective effect of dimethylglycine when it came to glucose metabolism, and recognizing that dimethylglycine concentration in the body seemed to have this association with different metabolic traits and the increased incidence of the development of diabetes. So how is it that they could test this? Well, they took a group of people and they were looking at their serum blood levels of dimethylglycine. And they found that the people who had the lowest levels also had this significant association with higher blood glucose levels. And so they ended up concluding and published this in the Diabetes Journal, that there is this causal role between dimethylglycine deficiency and the development of diabetes. This is really quite important, but yet once again overlooked when we talk about traditional medicine. So you have researchers at Harvard, at Vanderbilt University, at Lund University in Sweden, and at MIT that have been able to draw this correlation, say, dimethylglycine, if that's low, we have a greater likelihood of developing diabetes. We see the correlation there. And they even say that supplementation with dimethylglycine might prove useful for the treatment and prevention of diabetes. And this is still something that we do not hear about. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. I want you to understand the importance of our endogenous antioxidants and understand that when we have something such as dimethylglycine that plays this really critical and essential role in maintaining our endogenous antioxidant levels, such as glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin E, then we should not ignore dimethylglycine. So how can you get exposure? Well, obviously we know that certain foods are going to give us dimethylglycine. So if people are following that Mediterranean diet, then you're going to get that exposure. But is it going to be high enough? Because remember, as we get older, our natural production of dimethylglycine begins to decline. So supplementation. So we always have to think, how can we, if we have a deficiency in something, how do we make that deficiency up? And it's very simple. You know, sometimes we look at things in the scientific world in a very complex way, which is unnecessary at times. So let's just look at it in the basics, okay? If you have your car and you have 4 tires, which is usually ideal, right? To have 4 tires on your car. And 2 of the tires have no air in them. Where are you going to go? Probably not too far. Well, think about your 70 trillion cells and the over 40 different biochemical processes that require dimethylglycine. Now, if we don't have enough dimethylglycine, what do you think is going to happen in the body? Eventually, things are just not going to work that well. And if we're not manufacturing dimethylglycine, then wouldn't it make sense that we're going to take dimethylglycine? It's the same thing. If you go out and you have 2 flat tires, what's your first thing? You're going to either put your spare tires on or you're going to put air in your tires. It's common sense. So we look at dimethylglycine this way. Now, you can check out our different formulations that would help your body when it comes to enhancing dimethylglycine stores. And we have one in particular called Gluta-HX, which is really, really wonderful. So I encourage you to go to invitehealth.com and check that out. And it contains dimethylglycine. So it's very beneficial when we talk about the detoxification pathway, when we talk about our immune system health, when we talk about cell energy production. But this is not just dimethylglycine, it's also combined with other key nutrients such as parsley extract, which helps with maintaining healthy fluid balance. It contains spinach leaf extract, which once again helps to support healthy fluid balance and yields higher amounts of antioxidants. When we talk about those cruciferous vegetables and all of the benefits that can go along with those. This contains some alpha-lipoic acid and selenium. So all of these key nutrients that help to optimize the body's immune defense's antioxidant production capability as well as detoxification. So definitely check that out. It's called Gluta HX. And now understanding all of the different ways in which the body is utilizing dimethylglycine, it makes a lot of sense that as we get older and the body goes through different stressors, whether that be physical, whether that be emotional, whether it's a combination of the two, especially in the setting of chronic disease states, we want to make sure that we maintain our endogenous antioxidants to be able to fend off free radicals, and understanding that when the body is under stress, dimethylglycine levels will start to diminish. And also understanding that as we get older, our natural production of dimethylglycine goes down. So if we need dimethylglycine for all of these different things, then it's only advantageous to consider supplementation with this. So for many people who have chronic disease states where the body is under stress, whether that be diabetes, whether that be hypertension, whether that be issues with other metabolic disorders, it's always wise to stay on top of your health and be proactive rather than reactive. And when we know the things that we know that certain things go down as we get older, then it only makes sense to replenish them. We don't want to live in the world of deficiencies. We can go back to that car. We can look at those tires. We want to be able to walk outside and see that we have all 4 tires on the car and they are all full of air. We want to treat ourselves the same way. So take care of yourselves. Make sure that we have adequate dimethylglycine. And what I like about things such as dimethylglycine is we know we can test our serum blood levels. We can see these links. We can say, you know what, that is strange. I've been insulin resistant for many years and I had my dimethylglycine level tested and sure enough, it's really low. So that's what's nice about taking things that are already endogenous in the human body. It's the same thing with coenzyme Q10. You can have your serum blood levels tested. CoQ10 is not just a supplement that's made up. CoQ10 naturally exists in the body. So we have to be aware of these things. And dimethylglycine is definitely too darn important to just overlook as we get older. Because while it might be a slow process where the immune system starts to decline a bit, maybe brain function not as sharp as it once was, because think about it. If you need dimethylglycine for choline production, and we need choline production for acetylcholine for our memory, see how everything gets tied together. So as we get older, make sure that you are doing right by your cells, giving your cells the nutrients that they require. So that is all that I have for you for today. I certainly like to always remind people that you should tune in to the Invite Health podcast. Remember, you can find all of our episodes free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Now, do make sure that you subscribe and you leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health, and we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health podcast.